you think happened?
Honestly, I don't know. I know my son was not a drug addict. I know these men were not drug addicts.
And he said goodbye to his buddies, and he thought that they left out the front door.
The attorney says Willis didn't respond to family members' attempts to reach him because he was asleep.
I know that his story does not add up, and I know that he's not telling the truth in some way or fashion.
Hey, welcome back to Carrie Moody. I hope everybody's having a wonderful Sunday. In case you missed it, the other day I did a detailed video on the 3 friends that were found frozen to death in their buddy's backyard after watching a Kansas City Chiefs game. Well, not a whole lot of information has come out yet, but Jordan, the person that the men all stayed with, he had said that he only received Facebook messages from the family, and he didn't see those until after the police had come. But now the 5th person that was there, and they have identified him, I'm just not going to, but the 5th person says that he actually texted Jordan on Tuesday. So Jordan did receive text message as well that was concerned for these 3 men.
And Malik, let me know what your 2 biggest open questions are, and I'll put them to the attorney for you afterwards. So what does the 5th guy say, and good on you for getting an interview with him, and what are your questions?
So the 5th guy responded basically saying, because we spoke with Jordan Willis's attorney, John Paserno, on Monday, and when we spoke with him, he told us that Jordan went to sleep. So it was a different story that he said in the statement on Saturday that he released. It was a different story that he told Ashley Banfield hours after we sat down with him. And we have it on tape. He said his client went to sleep, and so that these men were still in his house. So when I talked to him, my first question was, well, when you left the house, were they still alive? Were you the last person to see them alive? And he unequivocally said that is untrue. I was not the last person there. I spoke with his attorney, and his attorney told us, he was there until a little after midnight. And when he left, all of these men, all 4 men, so the 3 victims and Jordan Willis, they were awake, they were there, and they were watching Jeopardy on TV. My questions are, Chris, at this point are simply, so at first we were told he only received messages through Facebook, okay? Well, then once we hunted down the person, number 5, this mystery man, then that changed, because when we talked to him, he said, yes, through his attorney, that he texted Jordan on Tuesday because he had received text from Clayton McGeeney's fiancée and Ricky Johnson's mom. So he had received text. So he inquired to Jordan asking, about the whereabouts.
And those weren't answered.
Exactly. Yeah. So why, if you only got a Facebook message, and then now it's, I got text messages. And then my other question, I think it's your question, which is, okay, so did he escort them to the door? Was he asleep? And when did he see them exit? Because the first statement, he says, I didn't see them exit the house. Right. And then in the same paragraph, it says, actually, the last time he saw them is when they exited the house.
All right. So, and I'm going to go to break, but I just want to ask you this. I'll talk to the lawyer on the other side of the break. But did the guy number 5 give you any indication of how hard they were partying and what they were doing?
No, he didn't give us any indication of that. And when we talked to his attorney, when I talked to Paserno, that is a question that no one seems to want to answer. What were they doing? Were there drugs involved? How much alcohol was involved? Those are just questions that at this point we haven't been able to get the answers to. But
now the families are obviously very hurt and frustrated that drugs are being mentioned so much. And my thoughts are that I'm not hearing anyone calling these men addicts. If they dabbled in something at a football after party, it doesn't make them addicts. It makes them victims of a very, very sad and unfortunate event. Now, let's think about a few things in regards to Jordan, the man that rented the home. Now, I can be pretty good at viewing multiple angles of most all situations. So my number 1 question is, why did he change his story to his attorney? Originally, he said he left them inside while he had gone to bed. Then later said he walked them to the front door and watched them leave. Now, did he change his story? Or did his attorney get his statements confused? Now, as to not noticing that they were in the backyard, I can understand. It was cold, it was snowy, it was yucky outside. I don't even look in my backyard when I let my dogs out multiple times a day. However, I would probably notice someone if they were frozen in a chair on my porch out of the corner of my eye. I think I probably would. And then as for the dogs, I've seen it said that the dogs were with Jordan's dad. I've also seen where the fifth man said that the dogs were there. So I really can't confirm that either way. Now, the families, they did attempt to reach Jordan through Facebook Messenger. And, well, it might take me a week to see a Facebook message, so that can be explained away very easily. But we later learned that the fifth man sent an actual text message asking Jordan if he had seen the three friends. Then we have the two people that went to his house looking for the three men. The fiancée even opened the door and yelled out for them. Yet Jordan didn't hear any of this because he had earbuds in and a fan going. That may be understandable, but I do find it strange that he had no problem hearing when the police came to the door just minutes later. Now, Jordan also didn't seem to notice that two of his friends' vehicles were parked in the street. His attorney claims it's because he worked from home and he didn't leave in those couple of days. I work from home too, yet I do still open my front door or look out my front window for various reasons, even if I don't actually go outside for days. I think that the most likely scenario is that it is really all drug related. It's possible Jordan had a minor OD. Is that even a thing? Meaning, like, he took the next 48 hours plus to sleep it off. I wonder if he had to work during that time, or did he schedule time off from work for those couple of days following the football game? Maybe he was barely moving himself besides going to the bathroom, grabbing a drink of water, etc. One would think he would have gotten up to eat at least. Also, another thing about the text message that he received from the fifth person that was there that evening. Jordan's a scientist. He has a really great job, and it's kind of hard to explain the fact of him not looking at or responding to calls or text messages for a couple of days during the week. Anyway, though, if that's the scenario, it's plausible the drugs basically put everyone out. He was just fortunate to have gone inside, or he may have suffered the exact same fate as his three friends did. It's highly possible that his memory of the events that unfolded are very foggy or maybe even non-existent. Think blackout hangover. He was very wise to lawyer up, guilty or not. On the surface, this truly sounds very suspicious. Conspiracies are going wild, and it will continue even after the toxicology results come back. I promise you it will, because if there's no charges brought forward, people will say it's a police cover-up. But a scenario such as the one I laid out makes much more sense to me than one of the successful man decided to poison his three friends after a football game celebration. He drugged them all outside, and then he just didn't tell anyone for a couple of days or so. It's not like the bodies were hidden outside. If anything, they would be more visible in a search scenario. The toxicology and autopsy reports will tell us much more of the story, but also they're both likely to leave us with even more questions. If the toxicology shows drugs in their system, then who and where did they get them? Did all four of the men, including Jordan, take the drugs? I sure hope they tested Jordan. I know he was taken in for questioning, but a couple of days had already passed, and police immediately said no foul play was involved. He lawyered up immediately, which was incredibly smart, but I have a feeling that his attorney would advise him against taking any such tests. And what if they don't find drugs in their system? Then what? Regardless, if it ends up this is fentanyl related that actually caused the overdoses and the hypothermia was secondary, And if police decide to pursue it, whoever supplied the drugs to those victims could be facing some serious charges. A death resulting charge alone in Missouri carries a potential penalty of 20 years to life, not to mention multiple other felonies that could be associated. You can see why somebody would get really scared, especially if it was an accident. Now, Missouri also does have a law where he could have seeked out help for his friends and been immune from any prosecution, that came from that. I think, as always, it's important to not convict Jordan without knowing the full story, as it is quite possible that he as well could be a victim. It appears that some of Jordan's friends or family have spoken out to Fox News, and this is what they had to say. They said, not only is the whole country accusing him of murdering his friends without factual details, evidence, or any charges at this time, but he also lost 3 close friends. They went on to say that he didn't get to say goodbye or go to their funerals due to the circumstances of the wild speculations and accusations, and that no one seems to be willing to wait for the results of the toxicology report or wait for any other facts from the police department from a case that is still under investigation to make these speculations. They went on to say that his house was all over the news. Multiple people driving by every day. People were threatening him on the internet. And everyone knows where his house is thanks to the news coverage. They said after the police cleared his house, the story became public. Jordan moved out as his privacy and safety were at risk. They said he is still cooperating with the police and that the vitriol is awful. And I think people are afraid to speak up for him because of how vicious people are with these speculations. Now, the families of the 3 men, they're obviously very frustrated, hurt, angry, all of the emotions, I'm sure. David's mom is pleading to Jordan. She's pleading him to come forth with the truth because she's convinced he knows what happened. She also says that police haven't told her anything and that she's only spoken with them twice since the tragedy happened 3 weeks ago.
Message for Jordan Willis tonight?
I do. I keep, I just saw the lawyer say that he purchased those tickets so that they could go to a game. Well, people do things with good intentions, but then something bad can happen that you didn't plan on. And obviously that's what's happened. Something came up that wasn't intended to happen. And with that, I want Jordan to come forward and say, this wasn't meant to happen, but this is what happened. I did this, or I saw this. Just tell us. I know he's scared, but he was there. He participated in whatever happened that night. He had to know. And he's the only one left that knows what happened. And I think that's why he didn't answer the text messages that people sent him. And I think that's why he waited so long to let anybody know what happened with the men.
Well, and Jennifer, can I ask you about that? With the time we have left, and there are 2 quick things I wanted to ask you. So, his lawyer said technically Jordan received the messages, but he did not see them. Are you crying foul on that? Do you not believe that?
I think it's false just because I know I heard from several people that said they kept texting him. They went and knocked on the door. They banged on the door. She had to break in, but somebody went earlier in the day. How could you keep missing texts and people knocking on your door and not notice anything, not receive, any of that? I think he saw it and got scared and didn't know how to respond.
And Jennifer, lastly, what do you think happened that night, and what do you make of the speculation surrounding drugs? Any thoughts about that?
I don't know what happened. I know none of these men are drug addicts. I know that. There's speculation that, oh, they must have been doing this and that. And it, you know, something may have happened that night. I don't know. I want people to know that this wasn't their life. And if something was provided that night, I know that none of them had the means to provide that. And that's part of the reason why I think there's a problem, is that all of them were taking care of their families and their bills and did not have money for that kind of thing.